Hi, I'm Brian Farr, and I'm here with my dad, Bill Farr. We just wanted to show you the effects that we're seeing on weed control and using cover crops. Last year, this was a test plot that we have done out here to teach students and people that were interested in how to do cover crops and the different mixes. And as you look across this field, as Jennifer will show you, we had 4 different test plots. This is a conventional field that we normally had, but last year we just had it just strictly cover crops. Dad, how long have we had this field into continuous no-till?
Yeah, I suppose 7 years now.
Yeah, so we started this cover crop soil health journey 7 years ago because this is tougher ground. Our organic matters were very depleted. They were about 1.7. Now we're about 2.6 to 2.8. So we're going in the right direction. And the biggest thing that we found out, this was a side benefit. Our main goal was to do organic matter. What do you think? And seeing what the nutrients we were applying. And so one of the benefits that we're finding from doing cover crops is the weed pressure that we are seeing after the cover crops. And as Jennifer showed you these different test plots, the one that my dad's standing in right now was we believe a sorghum millet. We're going to get that mix figured out for sure. But if you look around the rest of the entire field where all the weed pressure is and where it's coming, that triangle piece that Jennifer is showing now, that had no cover crops on it. That was just a tilled area left alone. It wasn't really tilled, just mowed basically for our training day. And you can see the weed pressure there. But I think with planting and doing anything into this stuff, and Dad can attest to that we're seeing a lot less weed pressure. Haven't you seen in the cornfield?
Well, I can't believe it. Yeah, all over. Yeah.
So once
the other farms where we did it at too.
Yeah, so we're about 50%, would you say, about doing soil health practices and less tillage. And don't you see where we've done tillage, the weed pressure is a lot more because we're reseeding that seed that's out there of the weeds.
Yeah.
If we don't disturb the area, we're seeing a lot more of this. And we're starting to do the continuous no-till on corn and soybeans. So what we're finding that this is very encouraging to see. And as if you look out there, these beans were drilled. Do you know what date these were drilled?
I think these were April 22nd. I know it was early.
It was early. Yeah, so we planted early.
Real early on the beans. They even had before the corn. And this plot here.
Right. And you hired the elevator to plant this.
Right.
And these, if you look down, these are at about a 7.5 inch spacing that we hired the elevator to come in and drill this. And as you can see where there was a lot of residue here, but if you look out there, the beans are all there and they never really sacrificed coming through the residue. I would say, don't you think, for the first 2 to 3 weeks when the beans were starting to emerge, it was kind of hairy?
Yeah, slow. It cooled the ground too much, I think. And then when we got this warm weather now, they just took off mushroom just great.
And we were pretty fortunate too. We had some nice timely rains, light, nice slow rains. Yeah. That kind of sealed up the furrow on there too to close that up. This field here, when we planted into no-till, doesn't have the copperhead row closing wheels. These are just smooth closing wheels. So we really hope for rain right after because that furrow stays open farther and we can see a lot of the beans every so often, but the rain right after there kind of closes them up. Looking at this, I think this is very encouraging, and we'll probably continue to do this and try to experiment on.
If you can, figure out what you got here. It looks like it's some sorghum though of some kind.
Right, and if we can get to this point, if we planted beans, there would be no reason to have to spray this at this point. No. There's no weed pressure here. Where the rest of the field, because you can see these strips through here, these were just basically mowed also. These 3 strips, so we could walk down these, because we use these as test plot. We like to have people come out and take a look at what we're doing, and you can see right where the weeds started. But wherever we had cover crop, the weed pressure is so much less. And I think with cost savings and the economics of this, if we can get to this point and get by with one spraying of soybeans, that's going to save us a lot of money.
Well, all them different plots, so you can see that you got a lot more weed control. This in here one is this spot here is exceptionally good.
But. Yeah, and this one here, what is very interesting about it, the other plots where we had, it's just grass coming. Broadleaf pressure is basically non-existent on these areas where we did the cover crops. But you can see where the controls or the checks, you can see all the broadleafs that are come through there. So as we're doing more testing and more experimenting with this. We're learning a lot more, but this is very encouraging for both of us, is if we can get to that point where we can get by with one spraying and not two. I think if we can get to that, just think how much money is being saved there.
Because we sprayed this here this morning.
Yes, and this was just sprayed this morning, and it's Roundup Ready beans. So this was sprayed this morning to see how it's gonna affect that. But it's nice to be able to test this and show people what can be done with cover crops.